feel like designing bosses around specific items and paths is okay, especially for the final boss. Boss, you know what boss, or plus you know what boss it is at the start. You have time for farming those items. I mean, I can definitely see that, but I still don't think you should design around paths, because if you don't get those paths, then you can't do it, right? You know, if you're gonna put stuff like Ravager into the game, you have to understand that some stuff is gonna get blown up by Ravager. You just have to accept that. I had someone asking me on the video, and I didn't respond to them yet, and they said, why is it bad if a boss is a DPS race? And there's nothing wrong with a boss being a DPS race. The lungs are not a DPS race, though. The lungs are a control fight. It's a control fight that puts more pressure than you can reliably answer. Prepping ahead of time is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain things, like the example I use is when people say it's okay that we don't have the stun resist buff, because you can just get stun resist poultice. You know, you're not guaranteed to get that. Even though it's a 4-hour game, and you're likely to get them, sometimes you don't. So like, if you design a boss around having Ravager and certain items, if you don't get Ravager and you don't get those items, what are you supposed to do? You know, like, you'll be at the point where you just restart, like, an hour, and be like, you know what, I can't do it, I'm out. Lungs are a control fight that you barely have enough pressure to control, even if you prep for it. Yeah. Someone say Ravager, yes. The other thing too with the lungs is what is the answer to repeated deep breath? Like, legitimately, if the boss does deep breath 3 times in a row, what is the answer to that? Because you're getting blinded and weakened at the same time, and it's taunting. What is the answer to that? And I don't see one, because we can't dot the boss. If we could dot the boss, that would actually answer some of those questions. Yeah, it's control and like big DPS, but like, it has to be like on-demand DPS. It can't be like, it can't be inconsistent, and it can't be setup DPS. But I consider the lungs unfair? No. It just needs some tweaks. Answers to deep breath, or to deep breath is to tank and pray. Yeah, and it shouldn't be that. And I agree with you, that is what it feels like the answer is right now, and it shouldn't be. I understand why Red Hook didn't just make the boss have a logic token like Ignite. I don't know, could just be could be anything, you know? Hit it really hard, works with your boss at work, oh god. To make it so deep breath needs less damage to break tokens, that'd be nice. Like, if it's just 10 damage, a lot of teams can come up with 10 damage. Even without dots. Question to ask is, can you do at least 30 damage to each lung, or both at any given time in one turn? And most teams can, yes, I agree. Boss itself can be dotted, but the lung parts aren't, and it's honestly dumb. You could stack that resist debuff thing, which is what people were telling me, but it's like, that's not a reliable answer. I think now that I'm talking about, the difference is that you're thinking there are multiple different items that can be an answer, like dot, trophy, or linens, or whatever can make it work with the paths you have and pick biomes to find what you need. And that, you know, that's a fair thought to have. It is. The one thing I don't like is the dot trophy being a consideration, because that's another thing. You have to get Sprawl, it has to drop. And also the dot trophy should not ignore dot resist. That is an oversight. I would not be surprised if that gets changed. You guys making pyramids? God. Any words in chat? Not enough, Hellion. But DD2 boss is better, Act 1 or Act 2? Honestly, Act 1 at this point, which is insane to say, right? We're gonna one-tap this dog, I believe. Can actually do damage over time to the lungs on the side because they don't have a turn of their own. They do take damage. You would think that, but I got them with the Librarian Trophy before. They take damage at the start of the round, or the end. Just automatically, which is weird. I don't know why it works that way. How did all these happen? Do I have the Librarian Trophy? I must, right? Because it's a 5x3 burn. Okay, so do it yourself, Cardinal. That's pretty cool. What was that, 12 damage? The locks are a true DPS race, and what targets to prioritize, which makes it feel better. It's weird that the locks are suddenly the better boss, because the locks still suck. You know, that's another thing where the lungs make it so if you run like a dot comp and you're not doing like cause of death and you're trying to burn through the main part and just tank it, your team just sucks. Whereas the locks, you can approach it with any team and fight it differently, which is cool. That is something they got right. Yeah, the locks, they're annoying, but You know, you can bring any team into it and figure out a way to deal with it. And the boss interacts with you by, you know, blocking your turns or blocking abilities, and it makes you still get to play, and you just change up what you're doing. Put out lungs so that we'd stop complaining about the locks, maybe. Yeah, paralyzing fear is dumb still. Don't get it twisted. That still is very frustrating if it goes off multiple times. Like, that boss can high roll your ass out of that fight. Like, look, I'm doing my best to prep for this boss. I'm bringing a bunch of token cures, and I have PD, so we'll see if that's enough. Paralyzing fear should daze. I mean, it would be nice. I'm cool. I don't really mind it stunning anymore. Maybe that's just because, you know, it's done it so much. Making shallow breath a prerequisite for deep breath. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't just go like shallow breath front, shallow breath back, and then deep breath after. Because if it does that in just like a sequence of 3, like breathing is already rhythmic, it gives you time to prep. It gives you like a turn to figure out what you're doing, which is fine. Would it skip a breath if lung is dead? No, it could just go 1-2, 1-2 after that. You know, the fight's supposed to get harder at that point, so I don't really mind that. The fact that status effects are kind of wonky in lungs makes you wonder if the high resist on them is a band-aid. I don't know what they're afraid of. Like, direct damage is already, you know, the most important thing in this game. And you just made that an even bigger requirement. Riddick terrified of Searing Strike's 2 damage burn. Breakthrough should move you up 3. It's gonna win you, sure. Allian from rank 3, but it can hit into rank 4. What is this, Pierce?